One is protein recommendations. That was the big thing, a lot of cow imagery, a lot of meat imagery. So the recommendations nearly doubled and now treat sources or all sources as equal, right? So there was a real de-emphasis on things like plant proteins and seafood and legumes. So that was one. Two, there were a lot of math issues, people saying the math wasn't
Mhm.
mathing. So, for example, on fats, they kept the saturated fat cap, right? While promoting foods that would blow right past it. So things like, 3 cups of whole milk, butter, beef tallow, fatty meats. So it felt a little contradictory. Other things, the shift to all whole grains, that jumped out at me. Did they overlook things like folic acid needs for women of reproductive age? This whole avoid highly processed foods, this drives me crazy in general. What does that mean? It's unenforceable. And I made the comment in that piece that I wrote that, my grape nut cereal, which is my kids say it looks like the fish gravel, like the gravel on the bottom of it. It's my
Oh yeah.
favorite cereal. It is jam packed with fiber and lots of good stuff. That's highly processed. Like what are we talking about here? It's like does this word or this term really have meaning, and is it enforceable? A couple more things and then I'll shut up. The added sugar limits jumped out. So they shifted from enforceable numbers to vague terms. So, like, they were talking about no added sugar per meal, per snack. But what does that mean? We're not defining meal and snack. So that,
Hmm.
these are just terms that really lack meaning. Alcohol guidance, that really jumped out. It lost its specificity. I also noted, a very big thing for me is raw milk, which
Mm.
we certainly is a concern from a public health perspective. I believe previously there was a real emphasis on pasteurized milk, which was not present in this document, so that jumped out. The evidence standards really shifted. So it seemed like they dismissed decades of research on replacing saturated fats with polysaturated fats because they said it wasn't rigorous enough. But then they justified doubling down on protein or doubling protein recommendations. And that was based on, very short-term studies. Last thing is that the guidelines went from 100+ page, really technical policy
Hmm.
document to this 10-page thing that I would say reads more like a consumer pamphlet. And it just feels like a lot of it is not clear guidance. What does this mean for schools? Like school lunches? Like, how is this enforceable?